Hi, everyone. No response. Before giving my speech, I would like to ask you two questions. No need to shout the answer out, but trying to answer and reflect to yourself. The first one is academic performance important in your life? Think about it. And the second one I would like to talk about is, are you willing to sacrifice a bit in academic performance and join more extracurricular activities? Let me give you some interesting statistics appear in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, there are approximately 19 students commit suicide half a year. Going back to the times where we are still investigating how to light a fire, if I put 20 of you into a cave, how many of you will commit suicide? Maybe it's ironic that students in Hong Kong commit suicide due to the education system and because of the demanding homework. We always question about whether the education system all over the world making us becoming more civilized or getting us going backward. Today, I would like to talk about three things on what's happened to our education system. Think beyond education. The first thing I would like to talk about is, who is the education system? You may say books, teachers, schools, toilets, maybe, or the education system. I love books, but my parents blame me that, oh, don't buy a lot of books because we don't have the place to put them. In fact, I love being educated. But the point is whether we have the choice to choose our study path and career path. In the age of 10, I realized that studying is something really depends on one's ability and one's own interest. At that time, I don't regard study as an important thing. At that time, my parents left me for 2 years in primary 5. At that time, my marks start dropping, my examination marks start dropping, and I enter into not so satisfactory school. Fortunately, my parents gave me a lot of freedom to choose my study path and career path. However, I cannot choose something called DSE. DSE is like something you put 10 dogs, 10 chickens into a room, and they punch with each other, they battle with each other to see which of them survives at the end. In fact, DSE is something like you put the chickens in there and they battle to see which of them can eliminate and enter the university to study. We want students to study some kind of liberal studies to teach them about critical thinking. But what critical thinking is, maybe in common, we love values, right? In common, we don't accept gay marriage. I think we don't, but it's quite liberal. The point is whether we want to teach students this kind of thinking. In fact, students are the education system. The second thing I would like to talk about is how do we educate students? How do we educate them? In fact, in the information era and the development of the technologies, even if a 3-year-old guy, a 3-year-old kid, can search the YouTube channel and find the information by themselves, they can grasp the information. Even if I need to ask a 5-year-old kid on how do I play the Minecraft? How do I use the Snapchat? In fact, we don't take the teacher for granted anymore. We develop self-reliance. But we love something called exams. Do you know what is examinations? Examinations is simply want to test students' ability and the study track. But in Hong Kong, there is something called TSA. TSA, many parents said that, oh, I have a lot of demanding work for students. The students get a lot of homework. The students get a lot of schoolwork. Many examination papers need to do that. In fact, examination is not that pressure anymore. But students complain that with the TSA, they need to attend a lot of tutorial sessions after school. But the point is, students complain that sleeping is a luxury to them. In fact, imagine if you enter into a buffet and you eat all the stuff and you get stuffed, what will happen? Vomiting, right? In fact, examination is something like this in Hong Kong. So there are students commit suicide in Hong Kong. When I was secondary 4, I entered into a radio broadcast room and learned some radio DJ techniques. In fact, at that time, many people asked me, why do you do such thing? You're just a little kid, you don't have the techniques, you don't receive money. I replied myself that it is worth to do so, because techniques, knowledge, isn't the most important thing. Rather important thing is it shaped myself a lot in my life. It pushed me the envelope. It let me know how big the sky is. In fact, similar logic applies to education system as well. We are not spoon-feeding babies. We don't want many study materials. In fact, teachers should educate students the way of studying. We should educate them how to catch the food. In fact, we are not spoon-feeding babies. And the most important thing is appropriate freedom should be given to students, and appropriate freedom is the best education to students. The third thing I would like to talk about is what should we do next, and how do we change the approach? In Hong Kong, there is something called SBA, which is school-based assessment. It is introduced in the DSE A-level, which needs the student to hand in 7 to 8 assignments as the final grade of the DSE. It accounts for approximately 20% of the final grade. But I observed that there are some students don't have that ability to do such high-order thinking. In fact, some of them don't want to get a real report card. They just want to get an ABS in the final report card. In fact, students, even if they absent in the written test, they cannot get an ABS in the final report card. Have you ever thought of someone who really wants to get an ABS in the final report card? In fact, students nowadays seldom raise their opinions on education. Even if you may question my credibility standing right here. students are the biggest group of stakeholders. They are the education system. Students are the education system. Students should have the biggest power to say something on their education system, on their study path, on their career path. With the 15 years of free education provided by the government, we may not be able to choose something, but the DSE. This limits their mindsets. Shouldn't we broaden the scope of studying? I think secondary 3 is an appropriate time for students to choose whether they would like to study in the DSE or in something we call technological knowledge, just like what Germany does. In fact, with the appropriate freedom of education provided by my teachers, parents, I can choose my study path, my career path. Otherwise, I couldn't stand right here today. If this kind of education will be applied 10 years ago, wouldn't we be pushed the envelope? Last but not least, I would like to ask you 2 questions. Is academic performance important in your life? And the second one is, are you willing to sacrifice a bit in academic performance and join more extracurricular activities? Again, if this kind of education would be applied 10 years ago, wouldn't we be pushed the envelope? Thank you.